about it because I always refer to myself as like the asshole of cancer. So I don't know.
You don't have to say that.
You don't have to.
I'm channeling your mother.
My mother is the one that's in my head saying, "Don't touch your hair." And I'm like, eh.
Well, I mean, just be as genuine as you are. Like, be yourself. So
oh, you say that now.
then obviously it is like totally fine.
It'll be fun. It's as I tried to warn you, it's a pretty freaking weird story, and
yeah,
I have notes because my memory sucks. And is that from being in a coma? Is that from menopause? Is that from my thyroid? I don't care. It just sucks.
A combination of all of them.
Well, if you have to remember like this much, I can either chant or just write it down a little bit. So depends on the day.
Yeah, feel free to reference whatever you need, and keep in mind, like, we do edit this. Like,
yeah.
We don't just like slap it up there and be like, woo. Like, we'll edit it and make it, look clean and add your photos and all that stuff. And so,
just add one last layer.
Oh my goodness.
One last.
You are beautiful.
And then Seth, if there is at any point where like
I can pivot because we are on a swivel.
I love that. So yeah, Seth, if there is any time that you would like to
look what you've done.
Oh, there I go. Well, because like the point where I'm in the ICU, which is the majority of the story, I'm in a coma for 10 days of it. So I was just like, because I keep him in it because there's a lot about the spouses and caregivers and those people that I commend them because he was that guy that sort of kept me alive. So I give him a tiny kudo now and then.
We love that.
Tiny kudo.
We love,
no cash.
Seth, if you do want to chime in at any point, especially during the ICU coma part, then please do so. And then if they're like, honestly, Seth, if you wanted to do like your own separate interview, we could also do that too.
No.
Because he's like, no, go away.
That's okay.
He's a musician. If he could do a gig.
No, that's fine. All good.
Do you want to just snuggle?
We love the snuggles. Okay, so Seth loves being interviewed. We have that noted. Just kidding. Okay, so how this will go, it's just really a guided conversation kind of from the beginning to where you're at now. And yeah, I made sure to write down like what you wanted to chat about as well. And we'll, of course, I'm sure those will genuinely just come up organically in our conversation. But if you ever see me off to the side, it's just because I'm truly just writing notes very frantically.
I'm usually looking at myself because I'm just fascinated by my own face, and I need to stop doing that because my eyes are.
You should be. I often am looking down too. I'm never like actually looking at the camera.
It's the social anxiety. If I look at you, I'm like, what are they talking about? The one thing I didn't mention to you and why I have him here is 4 months after I was diagnosed, his mother was diagnosed with lung cancer, and she wasn't quite as lucky. So we had parallel lung cancer stories going on for a while, and during COVID. So we know lung cancer.
Yeah, I would say so. Oh my gosh, Seth, I'm sorry to hear about that. The world works in really mysterious ways, but I genuinely hate that you guys have had to do it double dosed.
Yeah, because that was the thing. Like, I was a smoker. She quit in 1974 or something. So it's a lot of mixed up things, and that's like, I'm not used to talking about my story because I talk to so many people about their story because I'm an advocate and people write me. And at the end, if I did have time to touch on that, because it's talking about the ivermectin and the fenbendazole and things like that, because that's something his mother did. And she's not with us, and it's something I played with but didn't work. And a lot of people... recently I joined a club on Facebook, and it was like 21,000 people, and they're all natural medicine people. And I'm trying to get these two worlds to come together. Like, you can do both, because people are dying every day from natural cures, and yikes.
Yep. No, exactly.
I'm the busiest terminal girl in the world.
That should be your slogan. We got to get that on the shirt.
No, my slogan is anti-cancer patient, because nobody wants me. And nobody has me. But also, I won't give it all away now.
Save some powder.
But her reactions won't be in the interview, so I'll just look like.
Okay.
I mean, you have to remember that, like, for 25 days of this story, I couldn't talk, but my face could. So it's like, I was totally used to talking with my face. It's when, like, people knew what I was saying. And with the no hair, it was worse.
Yes, you are correct. No one will see this face. No one needs to see this face.
They do.
So I'm going to click record, and I'm just going to make sure everything is looking good on my end. Hold on 1 second and make sure we're all good. I'm going to respond.
So I think, can you switch our squares?
Like mine and yours?
Yeah.
When it records just a version of you and a version of me, and then one together. So then when we edit, we just do the version of you.
Oh, because I thought, like, right now it's very obvious I'm not looking at you. So
no, look wherever you feel comfortable, and whatever makes sense for you.
It makes sense to look at the sky.
Yeah, true.
Okay. Game face on. I think he is placated. Here we go.
Oh, the dog?
Yes.
Yeah. Great dog anxiety. The mail's already come.
Okay.
So at the beginning here, I'm going to have you introduce yourself. So when you introduce yourself, you can say your name. You can say your first and last if you'd like, but you can just say your first if you want as well. So name, diagnosis, where you're currently living, where you're from, and then anything else you'd like to include about yourself outside of cancer, whether that's like hobbies or your family or genuinely whatever you want to say. And then you can pause and then we'll just continue. So whenever you're ready, feel free to introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, I'm Eugenia Horan. I am 51. I'm from Syracuse, New York. I have been an artist my whole life because I'm weird and I like to make things that are weird. And when I was 46, I was diagnosed with poorly differentiated non-small cell lung cancer.
Thank you. That was perfect. So take me back to the beginning, wherever that starts for you. How did you discover this cancer diagnosis? If you were experiencing any symptoms, just take me back to the beginning of discovering this.
Okay, I think it started Christmas of 2018. I woke up sick with a cold or a flu or something. I wasn't too happy about that. And it took a while to get over, but I did get over it. But not completely. And I started noticing tightness of chest and little specks of blood that came up when I coughed, and I was nervous about that. And of course, like everyone else in the world, I Googled it and I saw, oh, it's really nothing to worry about. But there was one night in particular where I wasn't coughing. I called it the equivalent of a nosebleed out my mouth. Blood was just coming out my mouth, and I would soak through tissues and I put them in a pile and soak through and I thought it was an anterior nosebleed because, yet again, still on Google. And I took a picture of it and I'm like, I gotta go to the doctor. And so I wrote my doctor's nurse, who was a friend of mine, because when you have the level of anxiety I have, you make friends with the nurses because they are your best friends. And she got me in that week. And I'm not someone this was February 15th, 2019 at this point. And I went and I did everything right. I made a list of my symptoms, tight chest, I had wheeze, I had some weight loss. But the things I found concerning was my pulse was 150 BPM. And it had been high like that for a while. And I thought, I'm just really freaking nervous. And, but yeah, the blood that I coughed up was concerning. And I thought, well, this is something I can't fix myself. I'm going to go to her. She's going to tell me it's something and fix it. Because getting me to go to a doctor's office in February, no, I'm a germaphobe. And so I went and I talked to her and I told her everything. I'm like, I'm adulting. I'm being super honest. I showed her the pictures. She listened to my lungs. She's like, I think it's anxiety. I think you just get yourself all worked up. I'm like, so that blood comes out my mouth? She's like, these things happen. I'm like, you're an idiot. Because I knew that she was an idiot before that. And that's like, that's a thing to tell people. Like, I stayed with a bad doctor because she was easy. And I didn't have to do anything. But when I needed something, it was inconvenient that she had a mental block about medicine. So I asked her as she was leaving, I said, hey, why don't we do some blood labs? Because getting me to do blood labs also was not easy. And she's like, that's a great idea. I'm like, isn't it? And so my friend, the nurse, came in and she drew blood. And I thought, I've done everything I can. And my husband and I drove home. And the phone was ringing by the time we pulled in the driveway. I had not done great on the blood work, but I had mercilessly failed something called the D-dimer, which measures your blood clotting. And if there's anything wrong with your blood clotting, and apparently mine was wrong. And so all of a sudden, my doctor thought I might have something wrong with me. So she thought I had a pulmonary embolism, and she wanted me to get in for a scan that day. And so I waited on that, and I did get in that afternoon for a CT scan. Horrifying. And she had us wait there for the results, and then she was at a different hospital, so we were in annex. And she had us go in with the receptionist in the little, can I check you in cubicle? So we were like jammed in there with the receptionist on the phone. And she's like, can I talk to Scott? I was like, who's Scott? She's like, your husband. I'm like, oh, Seth. I've been going to her for 9 years at this point. And so she talked to Seth Scott, and he nodded his head, and then I took the phone back, and she said, well, it looks like a cloud of pneumonia. And I was like, is that a Joni Mitchell song? But it's not. And she's like, I'm just going to put you on some antibiotics, and we'll see what that does, and it'll probably clear up. But I'd find out years later, she told Seth Scott that I had lung cancer, or had a mass in my lung, but she didn't want me to get nervous. So she told me I had a cloud of pneumonia. And I refer back to what I said about her being an idiot without hesitance.
Yep. Understandable.
Don't want to get nervous.
So when did you eventually find out that it was cancer? I mean, if she's not telling you directly that it was, she's telling your husband, and
he kept the secret.
Oh, okay, Seth. I'm tearing you down right now. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
So.
Okay, yeah, please continue.
Well, this was Friday at 5, and I want to point that out because you'll find a lot of low impact drama happens Friday at 5 when people have to go home. Like, she shouldn't have told me over the phone. And it probably would have been different if it wasn't sort of last call for doctors and they get to go home. So I went and I started taking my antibiotics, going, I'm going to get this over with, because I'm at the point I'm thinking, my life sucks. I have to take antibiotics. And all of a sudden, Monday, everything is blowing up. My phone, all these things, because she's like, I want you to go see this thoracic surgeon. All of a sudden, Monday, it turned into cancer or probable cancer. And I had an attitude about it, if you can imagine, because nothing had changed between Friday and Monday. I hadn't changed. And I talked to her about that later. Like, she's the one that told me I was okay, and then the one that was scolding me because I didn't believe her. I'm like, you're the one that told me I was fine. So, it ultimately boiled down to me facing, well, I never faced him because I never saw him, but talking to this thoracic surgeon over and over again. They kept booking me for PET scans. I kept canceling them because I have two diseases. I had cancer and I have panic disorder, but as soon as I had lung cancer, I was supposed to not have panic disorder anymore. And they were very frustrated that that didn't magically happen, and that I didn't just get cool and calm and climb into a PET scan. I'm like, no, I can't do it. Like, I don't know what language to tell you that in, that you understand I physically cannot do this. And so it started just getting to be almost comical, where nobody referred me to an oncologist. It was, you go to this thoracic surgeon. And I finally got to do, this is 2019, so a telehealth, because I couldn't get there. And he finally agreed to talk to me on the phone. And he said, well, you got a 5 centimeter mass at the apex of your right lung, and you've got another mass sitting on top of your right main bronchi, and it's crushing it, so only a third of the air is getting through. And he's like, what I want to do is go in and take in those 2 upper lobes and take them out. And unfortunately, I won't be able to get to the cancer on top of your bronchi, but you'll be in and out and it'll be no problem at all. And when he said that, I'm like, I don't believe anything you just said, because it didn't make sense to go and, like, I'm going to take out the cancer that's not really doing anything, and the cancer that's killing you, we're going to leave that in, but do a major surgery that's going to almost cripple you, because how are you going to get better from that while you're decreasing from cancer? Because I decreased rapidly, like between February 15th when I was diagnosed and March 15th, I lost the ability to get to my bedroom, up the stairs. Like, every day was worse. I wake up to find I had lost more ability. And it didn't, and no one seemed to understand, like, I can't breathe, which doesn't help my panic disorder, which doesn't help me get to you. They thought it's like, oh, it's just another, she thinks she's trying to hold some sort of power over us. And I'm like, no, I can't get in the car. So what happened was, faced with this and knowing, like, my GP and this thoracic surgeon were the only 2 choices I had. So I had dumb and I had dumber. And I'm like, they'll kill me. So I said to my husband, we're going to have to figure this out ourselves, because every treatment that we were offered wasn't curative, it was palliative. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense, because I want to live. And at that time I knew 1% about cancer than I know now, because I've studied it for 5 years. But I said, I want a cure or I want nothing. And people said, you're crazy. And I'm like, tell me something new. So we researched, and at that time, cannabis oil seemed like the best bet. And we teamed it with a keto diet. And that's what we did for 2 months, from the end of March to the beginning of May. And so cut carbs, did cutting sugar, tried to starve the cancer, as the kids say. And that nearly killed me. Because for 30 some years, I weighed 98 pounds. Wasn't a choice. It was what I was. And those two treatments together dropped me to about 74 pounds. And I was already cachectic on the side anyway, but I just wasn't getting enough food. And so when we realized that wasn't working, I panicked, and I do what I always do when I panic. I went to my parents' house with my husband and my dogs and all my stuff, and I moved in their house. And they live like an hour away. And I went there honestly because they had a hospital that was one floor as opposed to the big buildings here. And sometimes my decisions are that simple. Like, I've been there. I know how to go in there. If you want me to, because at that time everybody's like, you need to see a doctor. And I knew I needed to, but I knew I needed to be able to, because sort of by the time I got to my parents, I was losing my ability to walk. And so while we were waiting to see a doctor, we kind of gave up on the oil and gave up on the diet, and I got a little better from that. But I went in, I made an appointment with, my mom has PAH, which is a different lung disease, and she's got a story too. I made an appointment to see her doctor, and finally showed up. I'm super nervous because this is the first time I've seen an oncologist 4 months after diagnosis, and I really even haven't been diagnosed yet. Just, there's a tumor or tumors, and that doctor didn't show up. But a different woman who I would take a journey with, as we say, was there, and she agreed to see me. And she saw me for about 2 minutes, then she admitted me. And I spent some time in the ER, and that was fun because nobody knew what to do with me because she was my doctor. The ER had me. They don't communicate. That's not important to this story. So in there, I finally got the biopsy that had sort of been at the top of everybody's mind for a while, because this doctor wasn't sure if it was lung cancer or lymphoma. And I did the biopsy. It really sucked. And when it came back, it was useless because they said they hadn't pulled any useful tissue. And later, when I got my files, when all was said and done, it was because they had biopsied the wrong lobe of my lung. Oops. So they're sort of blaming it on me, like, you didn't give us any useful tissue, so we don't know. We won't do radiation. We don't really know what to treat you with. So at that point, the tumor had grown through my bronchi and was growing over my trachea. So my doctor, my new oncologist, said, I want to start chemo, and I want to start it today. And I said, no. And she said, well, I want you to think about that. Because she's like, do it, don't do it, I don't care. If you do it, you probably have 3 months. If you don't do it, you have a month. And so I thought about it, and along with panic disorder, I have something called emetophobia, which is a pretty severe phobia of vomiting. I was always somewhat hesitant of the chemo, but I couldn't figure out how to get out of where I was, because at this point I couldn't walk anymore. Like I said, I am 74 pounds. I am not. Everyone is treating me like I'm dying, and I was really confused by that because I hadn't seen anyone since, like, my parents, since I was diagnosed, and they're all sort of like, it's over, except for one hospitalist that was just in, and he happened to be on his last rotation from Roswell Park, which is a bigger hospital in Buffalo, and he was on his way after this to start his first job at MD Anderson. And he was amazing. He was the first person that, like, for 2 days I was in different storage closets, I called them. I wasn't even really in rooms because there was like dirty laundry and stuff. But he went in there and he got down on his knees and he would talk to me, he'd hold my hands. He's like, "You've got this." He's like, "This is just a chess game." He's like, "You just have to win." And he said, "It's all up here." He said, "It's all," and he was the first person to just give me hope and say that he thought I could do it. And he, to the best of my knowledge, was the smartest person that I've met thus far. So I'm like, I'm going to bet on him, and I'm going to bet I can do this. So ultimately that, and being out of choices, and my mother and my husband staring at me saying no chemo, made me change my mind. And because I didn't have a plan B, like if I went home, I knew I was going to die. So sometimes you have to make hard decisions to get to where you need to go. And so I was started on what was called, my doctor called baby doses, because she was afraid that the tracheal tumor would break off and choke me to death. Which I would make jokes with her about forever, because she's like, "I don't know why you're so afraid." And I'm like, visualization. So I did start that, and that started that day in my room. The 5 o'clock on a Friday, 2 nurses showed up to administer chemotherapy in my room. And I made it through, but I wanted to go home. And I was the girl that was always talking about going home, going home, going home. And actually, the hospitalist that I was talking about got in an argument with my doctor, who was a woman that people were used to not arguing with and just letting her have her way. But he's like, "I think she should go home. She's got a care team there. She's comfortable there. She's miserable here." Because my doctor wanted me to go to recovery, the place that many people go and very few return from. I'm like, I don't want to go there. She's like, "You can't walk," because she gave me the weekend to be able to learn how to stand and pivot, the gold standard for health. And I could stand, but I couldn't pivot because there was marble floors beneath me. And I'm like, oh no. So